A woman confined to bed, paralyzed in the middle of the bombings of World War II, begins writing by hand over 15,000 pages of notebooks, describing in minute detail the daily life of Jesus. She says she does it because she sees him before her eyes, in real time, through mystical visions. For decades, many believed it was simply an extraordinary work of fiction, a gifted writer with an imagination beyond the ordinary. But in recent years, some researchers did something no one had ever attempted. They took her descriptions and put them to the test using the most advanced astronomical software and state-of-the-art archaeological databases. What emerged raised a question that no one has fully closed to this day. How could a bedridden woman who had never left Italy know the Palestine of 2,000 years ago so perfectly? Today, we look at the evidence, one piece at a time, and then you decide. To understand the weight of this story, we need to meet its protagonist. Maria Valtorta was born at the end of the 19th century. In 1934, due to a severe illness, she became completely paralyzed and bedridden in Viareggio, Italy. Between 1943 and 1947, while war raged outside and even basic necessities were scarce, Maria began writing at a relentless pace. She wrote sitting up in bed, holding the notebook on her knees. She had no desk, no textbooks, no encyclopedias, no internet, and something remarkable. Her pages flow without interruption, without the constant second-guessing we would expect from someone constructing such a vast work from scratch. In these writings, collected in the work The Gospel as Revealed to Me, she describes the 3 years of Jesus' public life with a richness of detail that would put the greatest historian of the Holy Land to shame. And it is precisely that richness of detail that would become, decades later, the subject of scientific investigation. Throughout Valtorta's text, there are hundreds of passages where she, while describing what she sees, makes almost casual references to the night sky. She writes phrases like, "On this cold night, Jupiter shines brilliantly near that constellation." Or she describes a lunar phase, the presence of Saturn, the position of the stars as Jesus walks with his disciples. Two Italian researchers, Professor Emilio Matriciani of the Politecnico di Milano and Dr. Liberato De Caro, physicist at the CNR, Italy's National Research Council, posed a logical question. If these visions were pure invention, the astronomical calculations could never add up. No one, writing in the middle of the 20th century, could mentally calculate the exact position of planets and constellations in the sky over Palestine 2,000 years ago, so they fed those references into professional astronomical software, the kind capable of reconstructing the map of the sky for any date in human history. The result of their analysis is what sparked the debate. According to the study, the celestial descriptions provided by Maria Valtorta are consistent with the astronomical reality of Judea in the years between 30 and 34 AD. The lunar phases, the alignments of the planets visible to the naked eye, the intersections with the Hebrew calendar of that era, the researchers maintain that they match, and that the probability of randomly guessing that complex alternation of lunar cycles and planetary movements is, in their words, close to zero. She was not consulting an astronomy book, yet, according to this research, she was describing exactly what an observer would have seen looking up at the sky above Jerusalem. Astronomy is not the only front. An equally striking contribution came from Jean-François Lavère, a French engineer who dedicated over 25 years to combing through the work, detail by detail. Lavère cataloged thousands of geographical, historical, and topographical data points. Maria Valtorta describes Jesus' journeys by referencing hundreds of locations, small rural villages, valleys, streams, hills. She often specifies walking times, the gradient of the terrain, even the type of vegetation along the road. When Lavère compared these descriptions against Roman road maps, modern geological surveys, and the texts of ancient historians, he found a millimeter-precise consistency. And here is the point that gives most pause. Many of the paths and tiny villages described by Maria Valtorta were completely unknown to historians of her time, and were only brought to light by archaeological excavations carried out years later. Think about it. Villages of Samaria or Judea that appear in no gospel. The exact distance between an inn and a well along a specific Roman caravan road. In the 1940s, many of those roads were buried under meters of sand, and no public archaeological maps showed them. Yet the excavations of the second half of the 20th century uncovered precisely those roads, those junctions, even the remains of ancient roadside inns at the exact points she had indicated. How was it possible for a paralyzed woman in Tuscany to know the slope of a remote hill near Jericho, or the layout of a Samaritan village that appeared on no map? The same precision extends to architectural detail. Take the Pool of Bethesda in Jerusalem, the place where Jesus healed the paralyzed man. The Gospel of John describes it as having 5 porticoes, an unusual structure since ancient pools were typically rectangular, meaning 4 sides. Maria Valtorta describes it with architectural precision, capturing exactly that 5 portico configuration, with the central portico dividing the 2 basins. It is not any single detail that strikes you. It is that it sits inside a chain of thousands of particulars, each one slotting in without a flaw, woven through everything else, as though she had simply seen them. The precision extends into nature as well. Maria Valtorta aligns Jesus' movements with the real agricultural cycles of the Middle East 2,000 years ago. The flowering of plants, the sowing and harvest of barley, wheat, and olives. Palestine has an extremely varied climate, from the Judean desert to the fertile hills of Galilee, and the seasons shift dramatically with altitude and proximity to the Jordan. If, in the text, Jesus is in a certain valley in spring, the vegetation and the state of the crops correspond exactly to what actually happens in that valley in that specific month. An error of a few kilometers or a few weeks would have created an immediate inconsistency. That inconsistency in Valtorta's work is never found. And there is more. She names the Roman and Jewish coins of the era, such as the lepton and the shekel, describing their real purchasing power. She describes Jewish wedding customs, the complex legislation of the temple, the details of Roman law as applied by Pontius Pilate. Information that, in the mid-20th century, was accessible to only a handful of specialists. Each of these details is like an invisible signature, one that only modern technology and archaeology could gradually decode. You may be wondering why such millimeter precision in a mystical work. One possible answer lies in the age we live in, an age dominated by skepticism, rationalism, and an endless demand for material proof. It is as though these writings contained a series of physical clues designed to be decoded by 21st century man. A seal protecting those pages from the accusation of being simple literary invention. To be clear, the Church has never pronounced itself in favor of the supernatural origin of these visions, and invites readers to approach them as the work of a woman who narrates, in her own way, the life of Jesus. It is a call to prudence, and it is right to keep that in mind. And yet, decades later, millions of people continue to read these pages and find in them something that reason alone struggles to explain. The questions raised by the astronomical and archaeological studies remain open. The figure of Maria Valtorta, whatever one thinks of her visions, reminds us of one thing: faith and reason are not enemies. Where the human mind falters, honest inquiry often finds itself confirming the historical solidity of the gospel. These writings do not replace sacred scripture, but for many they illuminate it, helping us contemplate Jesus through the eyes of someone who saw him walking the dusty roads of the Holy Land. If this investigation has touched your heart, leave a testimony in the comments. Write this phrase: Jesus, I believe that you are the way, the truth, and the life. God bless you all.